If you ask people, well, most people, what they'd say their favorite Japanese RPG would be, most would probably say Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy VII, or maybe even Chrono Trigger. While I would say all three of those, honestly, I'd suggest Final Fantasy XIV too. I know what you're thinking. Final Fantasy XIV, that's an MMORPG, right? It's like World of Warcraft. There might be a good story quest here or there, but you just grind till the end game, and then you're just gonna push, and you're gonna grind, and you're gonna do raids, and and PvP, and all the stuff that makes up an MMORPG. Final Fantasy's different. While it does have that stuff, it is first and foremost a JRPG. The story is mandatory. Every expansion has patches after it, and those patches can be sometimes substantial, and you have to go through all of that story quest to get to the end of game content. Unless you buy like a skip, you can't just like power through it. The story is what's important in this game. It is the best part. It is why you should play this game, honestly. Even if you don't like MMORPGs, play it.
I will hold the line.
So about that story. Like the gameplay itself, it kind of takes a little bit to get into, and the beginning's pretty slow. Honestly, it's not the best at first. As you get close to 50 and get through the launch content, when they're still finding their feet, it starts really picking up, and it starts getting real good. And then once you get to the first expansion, and we're on a rocket to the moon story-wise at that point, this game has some of the best storytelling I've seen in a while. It's got some parts in it that are on par with like Locke's backstory from 6, the quest for the holy materia in 7, and trying to piece everything together after that horrific incident, and just the charm of Chrono Trigger. It's just good. Once the voice acting swaps, because it does swap when it swaps to Heaven's Ward, they really stepped everything up a notch, story-wise and audio. Just listen to this from Shadowbringers.
Thancred?
So, you are the wretch who stole her from us. And what if I am?
Voice actors are just tearing up the scenery in some of these scenes. They are fantastic.
You know our cause. You know what is at stake. We are prepared to do whatever it takes. Are you?
And the music. Well, let's look at that next, because it's great. Not only does it cover multiple genres, they pick a theme for each of the bosses, for each of the areas. They just go with it. And while there's a huge variety, and you'll find at least one song you're gonna love in this track. It also has something really neat that I've seen in not that many other games. Let's talk the main character's theme, which is also the Ultima theme. It has chords from that in other songs to differentiate like moods or what's happening. If something's happening that features a character, leitmotifs from their actual like theme track will be layered through the music that's currently happening. Some of the bosses, the music, besides sometimes they'll tell their backstory, sometimes they'll just fit the theme, and sometimes they'll even tell you what attack's coming because of the music. It's fantastic. want to talk about the story a little bit. It is, in all essences, a true JRPG. It's almost episodic because each expansion and the 3 patches afterwards are a complete story that tells a tale as a journey with a goal at the end. And the 2 after that kind of build up into the next expansion and follow that. And the entire thing, all, 4 soon-to-be expansions, has been 7-8 year journey to the end of the main storyline. Each expansion follows its own kind of theme. The original expansion, or not expansion, but release I should say. Technically it is an expansion though, because this game, when it originally launched, failed. There's a really good no-clip documentary on this about how it failed, and they decided they couldn't let it fall, and they brought in a new producer who, while the original was running, made a new game behind it and launched it to that. And that's what we play today. In the base game for A Realm Reborn is a story about fighting your way to the top, defeating the enemy, protecting the realm, and then it becomes a story about maybe in our zeal we overreach a bit, and then the long fall in Heaven's Ward, where it's all about finding sanctuary in the frozen north. There's a city called Ishgard that is insular, closed, and very medieval about how they do things. You'll find yourself dealing with temple knights, inquisitors that are mayhap a bit overzealous, actual dragon heretics, and you'll find yourself in the middle of a forever war between the Ishgardians and the dragons themselves, and try to find a solution therein. And also it has a wonderful hero's journey that goes through it. Like, it is really good. It's typical 14 and a little slow to get started, but once it gets rolling, man, you'll be wrapped up in it. Then on to Stormblood. Stormblood's when things start kicking off a bit. The war that you dealt with in A Realm Reborn kicks off in earnest. You're fighting against the Garlean Empire, who has, in their expansionist ideologies, conquered a good chunk of the globe. You will fight your way into 2 nations that have been conquered and find ways to uplift and help the people rebel who have been just utterly ground into the dirt. Shadowbringers is a bit of a side story. You find yourself, let's just say, in a place without any hope. The people are disparate, crushed under the weight of elemental zombies, because the way the magic works in this system is every single type of magic, there's too much of it, it starts converting everything around it into it. Well, it's a recipe for zombies. And so it's a world on the brink, a land destroyed without hope, and you have to bring that hope back and deal with the progenitors of that fall.
I am not wont to run from my troubles.
Frankly, the story is not done yet. It's ending in Endwalker, which should be coming out this fall, and it is going to be amazing because this has been a 7-8 year trip. Every single thing has tied back into it. There's stuff in A Realm Reborn that doesn't get answered till Shadowbringers, and boy does it get answered. Each expansion has leads that normally would be like, oh, they just forgot about it, they didn't go with it, but it's all ties up in the end. It's all coming back all around. Now, they've said that they are going to be expanding the story, and there's going to be a whole new arc happening after Endwalker. But Endwalker is going to be the end of the 7-8 year story, and man, am I excited for it. I tell you one thing, this story has hit me on so many levels. I have laughed and laughed until I was hoarse at the antics on screen, at characters being sassy or burning each other so hard.
I am all but certain. Now, look into my eyes. Could it be? Could you be?
I am not interested, little son. Try again when you've become a man.
Little?
This game has, I'll be frank, there's a couple parts that have made me tear up. It's the emotion that it can feel when something happens to a character, or when your characters go for the worst and lowest points.
I am fine. Completely and utterly fine. Better than fine. Hale and hearty and still alive to mourn those who are not. Who I failed to protect when they needed me most. We've come so far, so goddamn far! I could have sworn the end was in sight, and now... Now they will never see it.
And there's even one point towards the end of Shadowbringers where you're facing the villain down. It should be the end, clawing your way forward, pulling yourself by your fingernails and not stopping, and then you find the power to take another step, and you can do it, and you face him down. And I was screaming at my screen, yes, I'm gonna get you, I'm not gonna let you win. Just the sheer hype of the moment when your character stands back up after everything is lost. This story is powerful. This game will hit your emotions, man. It will hit your emotions. And frankly, the sheer emotion that it evokes is what puts it on the level of 6, 7, and Chrono Trigger. But it's something you experience for yourself. A really good friend of mine who played it for the story with me, he likes some of the more political scenes and where the nation building happens in this story. Whereas I like the hype moments and the emotion. Everybody has a different feel and different things they love. You're the most stony people I've know have felt something during this game. You're going for a ride if you stick it past the very, very slow beginnings. Let's talk a little bit about villain in this story. When people say morally gray, who've been in the gaming sphere, a lot of people think to the hubbubbabblue a certain competitor to this game this company has made such a big deal of, and well, frankly the terribleness of which they've done it.
Burn it!
Not to say Blizzard can't do good stories. They can. They have some amazing works, and even within World of Warcraft, Suramar and the Runas storyline stick out as fantastic. They've been smart when they've talked about morally gray. I'm not going to spoil too much because he is the main villain of Shadowbringers, and a lot of his motivations are like direct spoilers for the entire series. But I'll say this. That villain is what truly is morally gray. He has done unforgivable. His penchant, as the story goes, is he likes to build nations. They are not good nations. They are the type that like to go on a global conquering spree and just abuse every single nation that they've conquered until there's nothing left. He's been directly responsible for untold disasters. And that's pretty bad. He's pretty evil. But the thing of it is that makes it morally gray is once you understand his motivations, the ends do justify the means is his whole stick. He wants nothing more than to save his family, his friends, his home, his nation that are long dead. I can understand that. You want to save your friends, you want to save your loved ones, you want to bring them back, but the ends don't justify the means. I can understand why he wants to do what he does. I can feel it. And maybe, if I lost everything, I'd want it back no matter what it took. But that's not what's happening. As the main character of the story, you will fight him and you will stop him at every chance of the way. Another part of it is he genuinely wants you to understand why he does what he does. A good part of Shadowbringers, he helps you out. He wants you to understand and to come to his side. And it's so rare that there's a villain who's actually isn't while evil isn't trying to twirl his mustaches at you.
Mr. Worf, villains who twirl their mustaches are easy to spot. Those who clothe themselves in good deeds are well camouflaged.
Well, most of the time.
Don't disappoint me, girl, or I will kill you.
And that's the thing about a lot of the villains in this story. Almost every single villain has a reason they've become the way they are. They've had something happen or they've done it. That one bad day philosophy that a lot of comics use. I think that's part of why this story's so good, is the writing of the villains, who initially seem two-dimensional and get so fleshed out towards the end.
We did everything right. Everything that was asked of us, and still it came to this.
Now, there's a place for the type of villain who just wants to burn and catch the entire world on fire alongside them. And there's a few like that in the series, but I think that some of the best villains and the best antagonists are the ones that make you take your own beliefs and the own reasons why you and your character would be doing what you're doing and trying to stop them and look at them and even for just a moment question it, but come out the other side saying, no, I am right and this is what I need to be doing. And that introspection comes some of the best storytelling. Morally Gray, actually pulling it off is hard in this game. Oh man, does it ever.
It will not save you.
So I'll come back all around to it all. Play this game if you love JRPGs. It has one of the best JRPG stories you will find once it gets going, because boy, is it rough at the start. Don't get me wrong there. I hope you enjoy it. Like, if you really get into it, let me know, because I've enjoyed it as one of my favorite stories there. I just cannot wait till the next expansion to get the conclusion to this 100+ hour journey I've been on. Frankly, it's great. Thanks for watching.